Hi guys. So in the spirit of what we're doing this month with coming out, I'm going to tell you my coming out tale, if you will. I've come out so many times as different things that I'm just going to talk about coming out as trans. Everything else, not even going to deal with right now. So, I came out as genderqueer the summer before my junior year of college. I saw this documentary that was on Logo. I think it's called Gender Rebels. If you guys want to look, it's pretty good. Before that, so the town where I grew up and the town that I now still live next to for the time being is super liberal. I was exposed to different stuff from an early age. Also, like, we're not all about like stereotypical gender roles, and like even though my parents are fairly normal. That's not the right word. That's just the first one I can think of. They're fairly straight-laced, I guess you would say. My mom was always was a tomboy growing up, so when I was like, I'm gonna, play some sports and play with action figures and stuff, she didn't discourage it because she was essentially the same way, and also, there's literally nothing wrong with that, but you know how some people are. The problem with that, although that was nice, was that I was content enough sort of like being seen as like a masculine girl, and there was still something wrong, and it was hard to like pinpoint it, and I would get super uncomfortable about certain things. Like, I hung out with mostly guys, and when it was pointed out that I was like the only girl in the group, that would make me super uncomfortable, stuff like that. And then when I started getting older, like especially in high school, when I started like dating and trying to navigate those situations, it started to get more awkward and more apparent that I maybe wasn't just a tomboy. I guess like I've been exposed to trans people. It's not like I didn't know about being trans, and I think part of it was that I had a different idea about like how all trans people are than like is the case, which is that everyone's different. But just from hearing like the stories from like the few trans people I knew, or like the TV, it sounded like my story wasn't their story, so it seemed like I couldn't be trans because I didn't follow that specific narrative. For summer before my junior year of college, I saw this documentary that I brought it back. I saw this documentary, and I was watching it, and I was like, oh, like, I guess I never considered that there are other options besides, for me, besides being stuck as a girl and being a guy, because I was at that point in pretty deep denial. And before that, I tried to, like, girl myself up a little bit, but that just mostly made me uncomfortable. So, I saw this, and I was like, I think, like, this sounds like me. Like, I don't feel like I am actually a girl. I think there's something different going on. So, for the next, like, year and a half, yeah, that sounds right, year and a half, I identified as genderqueer. I played around a lot with, like, my gender expression, and eventually just sort of settled into, especially after I got a binder, into basically presenting as masculine all of the time. And I figured out as time went on, and I was able to experiment with my gender more, that my earlier suspicions were correct, and that I am in fact a trans guy. So, I had previously come out to I'm getting to the point. I had previously come out to everyone as genderqueer. None of my friends cared at all. They were like, that's totally cool. I told them my pronoun preference at the time was they, so all of them at least made a valiant effort to use the correct pronouns, even though they and all that are hard for people. I also told my parents, I sent them an email, because it's terrifying to talk to my parents about things. They responded poorly, I think is probably a good word. It could have definitely, certainly been worse, but it also could have been much better. Basically, they were like, we're not cool with this. we're not calling you by anything other than the name we gave you. Stuff like that. So that was great. So yeah, for like a year and a half, I identified as genderqueer. Around Thanksgiving of my senior year of college was when I sort of came to the realization that like, I think I'm a dude. So I had to come out to everyone again. The first person I came out to was my best friend here, and he made me call Michael immediately. He'll probably recall. And so then I just sort of like called all my friends or like sent them Facebook messages of the ones that I hate talking on the phone. And again, nobody cared. Everyone switched to the new pronouns. My name's still Xander. It was before and it is now. So I didn't switch my name or anything. And I just switched pronouns, and it was a lot easier for most of my friends to switch from he from they. And then I told my parents about that as well. Actually, I told my mom, and my mom said she was going to tell my dad, and then never did. But he found out eventually. That also didn't go super well. They were still pretty not happy about me coming out to them as genderqueer, because that had happened like a few months before. Yeah. Now, though, my mom uses the right name and pronouns. My dad sometimes uses the right name, won't use the right pronouns, but he'll probably eventually come around. Whatever. It's a lot better now. But yeah. So now I'm out all the time to everyone all the time, as you can probably tell by the fact that I make these videos. So yeah, that is my coming out story. It is not full of very much excitement, but there you go.